Jumping, shooting, and sliding are the key characteristics of a character beloved by many gamers. If you haven't played his games, you've at least heard of him. Of course, we're talking about Mega Man. To this date, there are over 100 Mega Man games, which includes platformers, RPGs, and even racing games. So there's something for everyone to enjoy. Today, we will focus on one of those games, specifically a platformer, being Mega Man 2 for the Game Boy. This game had an interesting development process. It is noteworthy for being the only Mega Man game on the Game Boy developed by Thinking Rabbit, while all the others were created by Minakuchi Engineering. Minakuchi Engineering also developed Mega Man The Wily Wars for the Genesis and Mega Man X3 for the SNES. Mega Man 2 for the Game Boy can be quite glitchy at times, which we will be examining today. Like all other Mega Man games, it has a dedicated community of speedrunners who have optimized strategies to complete the game as quickly as possible. Let's take a closer look at how they achieve this. This is Mega Man 2 for the Game Boy. When we begin a new game, we are presented with a choice of 4 Robot Masters: Metal Man, Woodman, Airman, and Crashman. In this playthrough, we're going to select Metal Man first. His stage is particularly interesting and will give us a good understanding of the glitches we will encounter throughout this speedrun. The stage starts out relatively normal. However, once we reach the midpoint, we are faced with a tunnel filled with spike presses and drills that either drop from the ceiling or rise from the ground. The spike presses cannot be defeated, and the enemies require multiple hits to eliminate. Instead of engaging with them directly, we will use damage boost to get through. This game has a unique mechanic for taking damage while sliding or climbing a ladder. If Mega Man takes damage during these actions, he will continue his animation without experiencing the usual knockback. We can exploit this mechanic to navigate through the tunnel by timing our slides with a damage boost. There's also the option to wait briefly to slide under the spike presses, as doing so will help you preserve your health. It's important to maintain enough health for a glitch later in the stage. Mega Man's health is crucial throughout this level. The more health drops you collect, the quicker you can progress. After completing the stage, the runner must face Metal Man. This fight is incredibly easy, provided you know how to manipulate his AI. When the battle starts, time your jump and leap towards him. As you land, slide towards him. This will confuse his AI. Essentially, you disrupt Metal Man's AI routine, preventing him from executing his jump attack, since the room is too small for him to complete it. As a result, Metal Man will remain still and won't attack, allowing Mega Man to shoot him repeatedly until he is defeated. Just ensure you have enough health to withstand one hit from Metal Man to set this glitch up. After defeating Metal Man and receiving the Metal Blade and Rush Marine, we move on to the next level, which is Woodman stage. Woodman stage starts off similar to Metal Man's, but there's a few points of interest to note. First, we encounter a mini-boss room where you face a fire-breathing dog, known as the Friender or the Hot Dog. Normally you would have to fight this boss, but there is a strategy to skip the encounter. If you turn around and take damage from its fire attack, you can jump and slide through it since there's no collision there to stop you. A small optimization here is to time your damage boost and slide to get through the boss without taking an additional hit, which will help you in the next challenge of the level. After the mini-boss fight, we enter a water section, where we have a choice based on our health situation. We can either take the top route or the bottom route. The easiest and safest option is the bottom route, where you use Rush Marine to ride it underwater to the end. The riskier top route involves taking damage boost and defeating enemies, but it's faster and saves you a weapon menu. As the saying goes, no risk, no reward. Here's a comparison between the bottom and the top route. After this, there's not much to discuss before we reach Woodman himself. Woodman's fight will likely remind many players of his mechanics in the NES game. He will create a leaf shield around himself and shoot projectiles while dropping leaves from above. However, just like in the NES game, you can shoot through his leaf shield if you stand close enough. Using the metal blade will easily defeat him, making quick work of the fight. Once we defeat Woodman, we gain the leaf shield and proceed to the next stage, which features Airman. Airman stage is filled with damage boosts to help optimize sliding throughout the level. There is one section worth mentioning. Approximately halfway through, we will reach a point where we need to use platforms occupied by enemies to get past. These enemies are weak to the leaf shield, so we should time our leaf shield throws to hit 2 enemies at once, conserving weapon ammo. This is quite important, as we need a certain amount of ammo to take down airmen quickly. Collecting a small weapon ammo drop here is necessary for the optimal stage and will allow us to be more spontaneous with our usage. After navigating past the pit, we are ready to face Airman. For the fight, we should start by activating the leaf shield and holding right, then slide towards him. This will automatically shoot the leaf shield as we move in that direction. While approaching, we will also hit his air cannon attack, but because we're sliding, Mega Man won't take knockback from it, allowing us to continue our attack without being stunned. Once Airman is defeated, we gain the air cannon weapon and the rush jet upgrade. There's only one Robot Master left, Crashman. His stage features several notable elements, particularly a heavy use of rush jet to navigate the vertical areas. The first point of interest occurs right after the midpoint in the stage, where there's a ladder with some unusual properties. For some reason, part of this ladder prevents Mega Man from climbing up. The reason for this odd behavior is due to a tile error. There's 2 types of ladder tiles, one for climbing and one for the top of the ladder. The developers mistakenly set this tile as the top of the ladder tile, which creates 2 tiles that both function as the exit of the ladder. To bypass this issue, simply jump and hold up to continue progressing. At the end of the stage, just before the boss door, there is an enemy that you need to navigate past. Timing is crucial here. You should slide and turn around at the right moment, and get hit by the enemy's attack to reach the boss door without taking damage twice. This trick is hard to pull off, but saves a little bit of time. Now regarding Crashman himself, his fight is quite similar to his NES counterpart. He jumps around and fires his crash bombs, while he's weak to the air cannon. There is one important complication to be aware of though. There's not enough weapon ammo to defeat Crashman with the air cannon, even if the weapon is fully loaded. Therefore, we will need to finish him off with the Buster. After defeating him, we gain the Crash Bomb weapon, followed by a cutscene. During this cutscene, we break into Dr. Wily's lab, where he surprises us and blows up the floor beneath us. We then fall into a room containing 4 capsules. These capsules hold the levels for Magnet Man, Hard Man, Top Man, and Needle Man. We will head into Magnet Man stage first. At the start of the stage, we want to use the Metal Blade to defeat the Magfly enemies, which are the flying magnets that pull you up when they pass by. This strategy will help us get through this part of the level faster. We continue using the Metal Blade throughout the stage, until we reach the section with the Yoku blocks. The Yoku blocks are the blocks that disappear and reappear, just like these. At this point, we switch to the Rush Jet and skip past them entirely. After bypassing that section, we switch back to the Metal Blade. Next, we have a bit more climbing to do before encountering Magnet Man. Magnet Man's fight can be risky if you're not careful, but he is weak to the Metal Blade, plus the Metal Blade can shoot diagonally, making it easy to hit him with it. However, he occasionally uses his magnet pull attack if you're too far away from him, which pulls Mega Man towards him. During this phase, you cannot deal damage to him until his attack is finished. If you run into him while he's attacking, he will cancel the move and become vulnerable again. This can be quite risky depending on your health situation, but if you have enough health, you can significantly speed up the battle, especially if you encounter his magnet pull attack. After acquiring the magnet missile, we can proceed to the next stage, which features Hard Man. Hardman stage begins with a long corridor populated by bee enemies that release smaller bees. If you allow these small bees to spawn, the game will lag significantly, so it's essential to either use Metal Blade or time your slides to prevent them from spawning and minimize their time on screen. It's important to note that the second set of levels we're currently tackling does not replenish weapon ammo between stages, unlike the first 4 levels. Therefore, conserving weapon ammunition is crucial, as we will rely on these weapons throughout the upcoming stages. Returning to Hardman stage, we navigate through rooms filled with monkeys, utilizing damage boosting and the sliding bug to pass through them as quickly as possible. Once we reach Hardman's boss room, the strategy is to time your magnet missile shots to hit him while he's not invincible. This fight is manageable, but be careful to not get stunned by his jumping attack, as standing too close during this moment can inflict significant damage. Defeating Hardman grants us the Hard Knuckle, which is potentially the most powerful weapon in all of Mega Man. This weapon enables us to perform a screen wrap, which occurs when an object moves from the top of the screen to the bottom of the screen, or the other way around. There are a few games that feature a similar trick, such as Mega Man 1, where you can grab the ladder from the bottom of the screen from the top of the screen. Another example is Metroid, where you can use a wall clip to move yourself to the top of the screen and screen wrap that way. This is a powerful speedrun trick when navigating vertical spaces. In this particular game, the screen wrap works in a unique manner. Let's illustrate what happens, step by step. First, a player needs to equip the Hard Knuckle. Next, they must reach a point where the level begins to move downwards. Once at this point, the player should enter a hole that brings them to the next screen. Here they need to time the use of the Hard Knuckle perfectly as they enter this hole. The timing is frame perfect. Executing this trick will cause the area below to not load properly, placing Mega Man at the bottom of the room. If there's a floor tile beneath him, he will land safely on that. If there's a screen transition below, he will fall through and encounter the transition again. However, if there's no more screens below the one that you screen wrapped into, he will fall to his death. This trick cannot be used everywhere in the game, but it has several clever applications that can save significant amount of time. The technical reason for this behavior is that Mega Man has 3 primary values when traversing stages. Value 0 indicates that he's standing on the ground, value 1 that indicates he's falling, and value 12 that indicates that he's climbing a ladder. When using the Hard Knuckle, Mega Man's value is set to 0, as if he's standing on the ground. If you use it while transitioning between screens, it confuses the game about whether he's standing or falling. The result is that the game glitches and places Mega Man at the bottom of the screen in the next room. Now, let's move on to the next level, Top Man, which is the first instance of this trick being used. Top Man stage starts out quite normally. After navigating the small water section with Rush Marine, we want to switch to Hard Knuckle in preparations of the first screen wrap. We time our Hard Knuckle shot and wrap past a room that typically features a mini-boss fight against the Tama Cat. However, this mini-boss encounter is completely skipped due to this glitch. Next, we have an interesting room to discuss, and I got the perfect guy for the job.
Hey, Shesez here, the man with the master plan to basically take the camera anywhere we want to try and find secrets and new discoveries to some of our favorite games. Chrissy needed my expertise, so here's a small region break for all of you. Today, it's all about this block. In the American version of the game, this block prevents you from sliding underneath the platform. However, in the European version, this block has been removed, allowing players to slide through. As a result, if you're interested in speedrunning the game, it's better to use the European version. Additionally, it's worth noting that the Gameboy games run at the same speed across all regions. So there you have it, back to you, Chrissy.
Thanks, Shesez. After this, we set up another Hard Knuckle to execute a new screen wrap. This time, we screen wrap into the next room, and then we screen wrap again. This action causes the game to move us 2 screens down, allowing us to skip some annoying enemies and another Tomacat mini-boss. Next, we encounter a few more platforming challenges before reaching Top Man's boss room. Top Man's fight might initially seem lackluster, but is heavily dependent on timing of your Hard Knuckles. Top Man becomes invincible when he initiates his dash spin attack. However, if you time your hard knuckle shot correctly, you can defeat him before he can perform this attack, making the boss fight quite quick. This brings us to the last robot master, Needleman. Needleman's stage features screen wrapping in both vertical directions. The stage begins relatively normal, using the metal blade and rush jet to navigate while minimizing damage. Upon reaching the halfway point, players can perform a screen wrap into a long corridor where Mega Man must maneuver through spikes that emerge from the ceiling. These spikes operate on a global cycle and hit hard, so it's important to be careful to avoid losing too much health. At the end of this corridor, players will encounter a ladder. In the next room, there is a weapon refill located on a platform. It's important to collect this refill to restore ammo for the hard knuckle, allowing for more screen wrapping opportunities. To collect the refill, we climb up the ladder, and just before Mega Man hits the screen transition, we shoot a hard knuckle. This action will trigger the screen wrap in the opposite direction, causing Mega Man to fall from the top of the screen so he can grab the weapon refill. This eliminates the need to switch to rush coil or rush jet to retrieve it. Once the refill is collected, we continue upwards to enter Needleman's boss fight. Although the fight is fairly easy, it can become risky depending on Mega Man's health. Needleman's weak to Topman's attack, which involves Mega Man spinning around. In order to inflict damage to Needleman, Mega Man must make contact while spinning. However, if he makes contact when not spinning, he will take damage, which could easily result in death. With enough health, this fight should be manageable. With Needleman defeated, we have now conquered all of the Robot Masters. Once this is accomplished, a hole in the floor will appear, leading to another broken boss battle, being Quint. Quint is Mega Man from the future, and he uses a pogo stick as his main attack. This fight has a fun trick. When you first enter the battle, Quint will stand still for a moment. If you shoot a crash bomb at a specific height above his head, he will take a considerable amount of damage. This occurs because his hitbox is always active at all times, even during the initial meeting animation. The hitbox is located slightly higher than his sprite, because when you're facing Quint, his sprite appears larger as he's on top of his pogo stick, compared to before he has entered the pogo stick, or the Sakugarne as it's also called. This makes the placement of the crash bombs more understandable. After using all the crash bombs, we switch to the metal blade and finish him off. Upon defeating Quint, you will receive a new weapon, the Sakugarne, or the jackhammer in English. After experiencing a wide variety of game-breaking glitches, one might think that we have reached the end. However, the most significant skip of the entire game is yet to come. It's time to tackle the biggest challenge of them all, Wily's Space Station. We begin in a stage reminiscent of a Salvador Dali painting, complete with melting clocks in the background. Our goal here is to reach the first hole and jump into it, which will take us to a room with a floor made out of spikes. Normally, you're supposed to use the disappearing blocks to navigate through this room, but you can simply use rush coil and jump over it with ease. Next, we encounter a long vertical series of rooms. Here we can utilize the hard knuckle screen wraps as long as we have ammo. However, it's important to keep at least one hard knuckle for the biggest skip later on. Once we reach the bottom of the vertical section, we need to move back up and then fall down again. This process can be incredibly slow. Fortunately, we can overcome this by using the first ladder we climbed up and screen wrap downwards. This technique causes Mega Man to fall beneath the floor we previously were standing on, allowing him to skip that area completely. This skip saves around 11 to 14 seconds, which is significant in an already short speedrun. We then enter a Rush Marine section, where simply spamming the shoot button is sufficient to progress. Next, we encounter a new vertical section where we ascend through several rooms that present challenges such as stationary and falling spikes. The most enjoyable part of this section is the rooms that are filled with flying enemies, where you're encouraged to eliminate them and use them as platforms to navigate through. However, you can actually use Rush Jet to skip them entirely. Once we reach the top, there is only one thing left. The final boss, Wily himself. This boss battle has 3 phases, with Wily docking his flying machine into different parts during each phase. The first phase has him dock into a pair of legs, and in this fight he will jump around. Here you will make use of the rush jet, as it helps you align with his hitbox, allowing us to keep shooting him. Rush jet in this game follows Mega Man, so even if you get hit, you won't fall off. This mechanic was also present in Mega Man 3 for the NES. Once we dealt enough damage to Wily, he will disconnect from his leg parts and then move on to his tank part. While Wily is doing this, we want to navigate the menu and select the Sakugarne and use an E-Tank, as the next attack will inflict some damage onto us. For the record, E-Tanks are very easy to collect throughout the run, so they aren't difficult to obtain. As Wily connects to his tank part, we need to get on the Sakugarne and jump above him. If timed correctly, we will be in the air above him when the game freezes to fill up his health. When the game unfreezes, Mega Man will land on top of Wily with the Sakugarne, causing him to take damage. This can be risky as Mega Man is also susceptible to damage here, but with a full health bar, the chances of him dying is quite low. Following this strategy, Wily will quickly lose health and move on to phase 3, which involves his dinosaur mech. This battle is generally considered one of the easier final Wily fights. Wily only attacks by shooting 4 Goomba-like grenades and heat-seeking missiles, both of which are relatively easy to avoid. During this fight, you should focus on shooting his capsule. There is a specific timing method that you can use to save time in this battle. By shooting a steady pace with well-timed shots, you can actually inflict more damage on Wily, allowing you to bring him down faster. Here's a side-by-side comparison. With the final hit, Wily is defeated. Mega Man then escapes his fortress, bringing the end to the wild adventure that is Mega Man 2 for Game Boy. Thank you so much for watching my video on this game. It means a lot to me, as this is one of my first speedruns and the first game I ever ran at Games Done Quick. I've also met some amazing people through this game, and I hope I've done it justice as one of the most broken Mega Man titles out there. I hope you have an amazing week, and I'll see you in the next video.